Welcome to our conversation about technology, and today I have with me Kacee Johnson, Executive VP of Cloud9 Real-Time. And we're going to talk today about how cloud affects firms. You know, we see so many firms looking at the cloud, and we're always talking about what should you investigate, and there's so many things to look at. But one thing you guys have done in the last year or so is done a overhaul of the entire technology. Tell me a little bit about what's going on at Cloud9 with the latest technologies.
Absolutely. So we recognized as we were growing rapidly that we not only needed new leadership in the technology department, so we hired a new CTO, but also a revamp of our entire infrastructure. So we invested in some of the newer, faster, larger SAN technologies that have not only improved performance, but also enhanced our backup structure, as well as redundancy for our users. We also moved to some Dell Blade servers, which allows you to not only have faster performance, but condense the footprint inside of your data center. So those changes are really what set us apart this last 2 years, as well as removing connection managers like Citrix, ThinWorks, ProPalms, all of the clunky downloads that most hosting providers and we used to have as well.
So with this new technology, what a big infrastructure change and investment, end users should see a streamlined experience, because so many concerns are, well, if I put it out there, what's the speed going to be like? And that's always the first question. Will it be as fast as my office? So if I were to come to you and say, you know, how fast will it be? You can now respond with this technology that it should be a very good experience. And how have the customers that have been with you seen, what have they said about the changes?
Absolutely. Most of our clients will tell us that it's actually faster than when they had their server next to them, just because the technology that we have invested in is so much better than what they could afford locally. Now, it also depends on what they have in terms of internet speeds, of course, because it's going to be streaming over the web for working in the applications. It's a lot different than just poking around on Google. So that can, of course, affect them, but that's one of the things that they just need to check on their own, is their own connection and making sure that they have enough bandwidth.
So that would be the first thing, is the bandwidth. If it's wide enough, they're not going to experience the problems that they would think that maybe the cloud is slow for some reason.
Yeah.
And that's really important then.
Absolutely, and the seamlessness of the cloud with the new technologies is what's really important. The applications literally feel as though they are running locally. We're streaming the apps through Microsoft's remote app direct to their PCs, so it's in their taskbar as if it's a locally running application. So people really love that. It's not a huge learning curve. It's what they're used to. It's just we're changing the place that it's being stored and how they're accessing it.
So what part of this technology would be helpful if I'm curious about security or something? Has the technology you've put in place changed so that if I'm one of those who's curious or a little fearful, oh, it's not going to be secure, what if you get hacked? Has that technology helped in that area to be able to reassure people that this is actually better or more secure than their own office? Absolutely.
We replaced all of our firewalls to higher grade enterprise level firewalls that we can really control internally, not only individual IP addresses coming into our network, but whole countries to turn off. We've also doubled the encryption. We used to be at 128-bit 2 years ago, and we've doubled that to 256-bit encryption when they're logging into the system. So the security has also gotten kind of doubled.
So one thing you guys do, and I know this isn't exactly technology driven, but you can host anything, any kind of application, and that differentiates you from a lot of companies out there. Does the technology you have now in place help that in some way? Being able to say, I've got this unique app that maybe you haven't seen, and you can load that up and test it and make sure it works in that environment?
Yeah, well, I think that it's not only the technology that we upgraded to, but it's also the way that we go about approaching each individual client as a custom environment. We don't cookie cutter anything. So we don't come to the client and say, okay, this is the box, you need to learn how to work inside of it. We ask them questions, learn about their firm, what their needs are, what their pain points are, and the full scope of their projects, so that we understand all the applications that they need hosted. And then we look at system requirements. Now, we can't recreate the wheel and somebody come to us that wants a DOS product hosted. We're Windows Server 2008 R2. There's just no way that's going to happen. But as long as it's compatible in our network and they have the proper licensing, we give them the freedom and flexibility that they would have on a local server.
I think that's good news. And for our viewers, I think when you're considering the cloud, it's good news that there's solutions out there that are going to actually, as you mentioned, make it faster, make it more effective, and then you get all the benefits, and really you're not worried about security. You shouldn't be if somebody else is taking care of that. Thanks for talking about that technology. I think it's important for people to know that you're not just throwing stuff out there on some server at some site, that you've really thought it through, and the infrastructure is very important, and maybe even some of that technology was over our viewers' heads, but it's important to know that Cloud9 Real-Time is really invested in making a product that can help other firms. Kacee, thanks for talking about that with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.